Hello and welcome back to the Sell Like You podcast with me, Harriet Muller. And this is our first live recording of 2025. And it's so good to be back. Get behind the mic, remember how to set up my lighting, ensure that I've tested everything. Last year I had an absolute doozer where I had a very exciting episode go live with the Sales Gravy. And I'd left my microphone in the office, come home, I was recording at 9 p.m. And the only thing I could record on was my webcam, I think you call it, my webcam and the microphone from there. So it wasn't great, but we rolled with it. Don't let perfection get in the way is definitely my motto. So we're back. I've had a wonderful break in the UK. I had 3 weeks off, which was just amazing. I had a couple of days during those 3 weeks with one of my awesome clients in Manchester. So that was lots of fun and essentially lots of food, making sure we wore like 7 jumpers. I think it got down to like -3, which is just the total contrast to leaving 39 degrees in Perth before I hopped on that flight in December. So we're back. We were back online with our clients on the 6th of January. And into a new office. Now, you may have seen if you've been following us in some other areas that we did move into a new office last year, which we loved. It's part of a members club I'm part of in Leaderville. If you're in the area, do let me know. And they create these insane new offices, which were awesome, but we outgrew it within just a few weeks. And we are about to get bigger again. We've got a new starter joining us this week into the lead development or SDR as a service team. And we are so excited to start growing that as we've got some awesome results happening for our clients. We're now out of pilot beta testing mode and we are going full steam ahead into the industry, which is awesome. Awesome for us, awesome for our clients, awesome for our team. Lots of learning to be happening here. Now, in Australia, it's summer, and so everybody seems to take a bit longer. And I feel like every year people are pushing out that return to work, which I love to see. And this year, I thought it was going to be the 13th. Everyone will come back. It's looking like everyone's back on the 20th, and some people come back in February because we've got school holidays, and then you've got Australia Day. So, as a salesperson in Australia, you have to be very organized and on the ball, ready to go, because if you come back in January with no meetings, with nothing happening, you are limited with the amount of people that you can engage with. Now, in saying that, our team did a great job in week 1 of generating meetings for our clients as part of our service. So it definitely can be done. But if you're coming back, you're missing your afternoon naps and your pina coladas by the pool, it's going to be a rude awakening if you come back. Now, I often get asked about, how do I overcome this or what should we do next? And I think it's such a relevant topic to kick us off for the first solo episode of the year of the podcast. Talking about how do you schedule your Call Me in 2025 meetings or Call Me in the New Year meetings. And that's where I want to start. And the question I get asked about, how do we change that, is that I would often say, can we go back in time? Can we change it? Can we be more organized? Can we get those meetings booked in? And so, although I wish I could take you back in time and help you do that, we can't. But I think it's worthwhile just talking about how we can set up 2025 to be different if you've never looked ahead for your meetings beyond those 1 to 2 weeks. Now, in sales, especially in the industry of tech and cyber, which is what we specialize in over here at Your Sales Co, is that we need to be looking ahead. We need to be planning 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks ahead. Now, if you are in, October, November, heading into December, and we're getting that, can we chat in the new year? Let's chat again when we're back. Let's pause this for now. We need to be really clear, and some people do a great job of this. Others don't even know kind of how to position, and this can often be a challenge, is that if somebody says that, what do you do next? Often, the majority of people will say, absolutely, I'll chat to you in January. We don't know when they're back. We don't know when in January is going to be good, and we don't have it confirmed. So it's taken time to get them on the call. You're now going to have to do that again, not knowing when they're back, not knowing what else is a priority, and knowing that everyone's kind of trying to get back into the swing of things after such a long break. Even if your client, your prospect, or you have only taken a handful of days, it's still that mindset of like, oh, we've just eaten lots of food, we've just drank loads, we've had, a great time with our friends and family. It is a switch to come back. And if you're in, the UK, often it's dark and it's cold and, trying to get back into it. And over here it's hot and we want to be at the beach and we're trying to get back into it. So there's lots of things at play. So if I could go back and say, this is what I would have done in 2024, is that I would have got that response and said, awesome, like that sounds great. Happy to chat. When are you back? Then we know when they're back, we position a suggestion for a week later, or awesome, you're back on the 8th. When would work for you in January? I'm mindful that maybe you might need a few days, maybe a week or so to get back into the swing of things. If it's in person, offer to take them for a coffee, get out the office. People love to do that in the new year. And the opportunity for you to talk in a broader sense is we've now got the whole year ahead. We've got the whole year ahead of us to look at what the plans are, what the pipeline is, what the projects look like. And so the conversation just gets bigger. And so I love a January, February meeting because it means we can look ahead of the year. Even though often businesses are looking at financial years and they change from country to country, it really doesn't matter because we've got that view of we know we've got January to December. And so with that in mind, we want to really clarify and then get that in the calendar. Now, people can always tweak that. They might come back and something else has come up. We can always get that feedback. If we don't know what the meeting's going to be about, just put 15 minutes in. Just be like, look, I'll chuck 15 minutes in, saves a bit of phone tag, and I look forward to chatting to you then. It's low committal. Anybody's, can give you 15 minutes. It feels a lot more easeful. And we now have got commitment for a conversation, so we know then where we need to go next. Now, that conversation may lead to a November requirement. We can't guarantee where that's going to land, but at least we can have the conversation. We can start adding value. We can start educating. So that's my ideal if we could go back in time. But the beauty of it is we've now got the year ahead. Now, often I tend to look at 3 areas throughout the year. I look at Easter because that's often a longer period of time where people take break. It's a great time to take days off, and you get longer time off, across the weeks and make the most of your holidays. We've then usually got a holiday where people will take 1, 2, 3 weeks off, and then we've then got back then into Christmas period again. So ahead of that, right now, if you want to be super organized, chuck it in your calendar, get it 2, 3 weeks out, start planning in your meetings and start looking at your calendar as a quarterly event. Okay. So right now I know everything we've got booked in for Jan, Feb, March, that's all booked in. We are booked up. We are ready to go. We've got this new service coming out or this new service that's launched lead development. So that's all go. Then when I look then kind of into April, I'm now focusing on the 2 weeks prior to the Easter break, knowing that that is going to be my time to secure if I need to, have conversations if I need to, and book things in for post-Easter and into May. Then I've then got end of financial year, and I know that in June, everybody pushes things out kind of from the first, second week of June and are ready to talk again in July. So I'm always thinking about these chunks of time. And then from July to December or July to November is, go, back into December. Let's start then positioning for the new year. So we're always looking ahead. The further you do it, the more success you'll see, the bigger the pipeline, the less stressed you'll be at the end of the quarter. And I will link a video to managing your quarters as well, because I think it's super relevant to what we're talking about. Now, as I mentioned, this start of the year, if you're coming back, it's January, you're back and you haven't got any meetings booked, you may feel like this is a tough start to the year. Great for the tips, Harriet, but how do I get started now, knowing that we don't have anything in and that January, we're still trying to navigate that coming back to work. So when we're coming back, we want to look at how do we revisit last year's prospects that said, let's talk in the new year. So whenever we're looking at prospects, I'm sure you've got thousands of them. If you have a CRM and you're in an established business, you will have thousands of them. If you've got a LinkedIn network, you will probably have hundreds, if not thousands of them there as well. So where do we start? I would go into my CRM. I would focus on anybody that has said, let's chat in the new year. And I would look at that thinking about when would they be back? Let's think really, we give them a stretched timeline. So if you think everyone's come back on the 6th, maybe try the end of the week of the 3rd. We don't want to be desperate. We don't want to be coming in really strong. If you've seen them posting or if you know that they've been online, it may be a good opportunity to give them a call. Keep it super relaxed, talk about their break, reference what they said. Now, if somebody said to you, let's chat in the new year, let's chat in January, I'm back online from this date, do that, use that, and then go back to what your initial conversation was all about. I know when we last spoke, you were planning for this. I know you were keen to explore this. I was excited to learn more about this, and you said now would be a good time. Should we put in 30 minutes? Should we pop in an hour? Do you have time for a coffee? Ease you back into it, and we can have a bit of a chat about the year. It feels very relaxed. It feels like we've got a long time to discuss projects, whether it is going to be for February, March, or beyond. We're able to have that really nice entry back into the year. Now, a lot of people may disagree with me on that and think about, going in hard, going in ready to take on the year. And absolutely go for that. It depends on your industry. It depends on the people you're dealing with. And it depends on what they wanted. If people were ready to get going and they need that conversation, go in with that, lead with that. But your meeting probably was already confirmed. For everybody else, remember they're taking that in. We want to find out how their break was. We want to get to know them. We want to build that relationship. And we're only going to do that by getting them to talk about themselves. People love to share what they've been doing. People love to talk about the break and what's been happening. Now, as you get further into January, there's all these memes that will come out and talk about when can you say Happy New Year until. For me, I think you can say Happy New Year until you've seen everybody. Maybe not into Feb, or you can say, is it too late to say Happy New Year? Have some fun with it. We're not too serious. Really enjoy it. Use language that resonates with you. And when we're revisiting those Let's Chat in the New Year, mention that they have asked. Just give me a call back as promised. I know you were keen for us to chat. Link it back. It makes it about them and not about you on your agenda and what you're trying to do, but it's about what they said they wanted, needed, and where they are going. Now, as I mentioned, having the year ahead is great. Open-ended questions around what's your focus for the year ahead. Where does this topic sit on your priority list? I know, you mentioned this would be kind of a mid-year thing, always working backwards. Now, my rule of thumb, and some of these will need to be longer, but my rule of thumb is that if they want something in June, we need to speak at least in March. Now, some people will say 6 months. Some people will say, well, I only need 3 weeks and I can switch them over. We still need time to converse. We still need time to get approval. We still need time to speak to the CFO. We still need time to get sign off. So all of those things are really key when it comes to being able to build out those conversations. Now, we'll be back to how to schedule your meetings in 2025 in just a moment, but I wanted to let you know that we are running a free webinar on how to follow up on your leads from events, from downloads, etc., and convert more of those into your pipeline for 2025. We are running this on 4th of February at 9 a.m. AWST or 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Link in the show notes to register. I hope to see you there. Now, I said this earlier, don't rush it. It is not about hammering in to get the meeting secured in, ready to go, because your prospect, the people you want to work with, don't want that. That's not how they're going to do business. In our industry, it is very, it's consultative. We want to build a conversation, build a relationship. It's not something that people are going to make a decision on today and by today. Now, if you've been working with somebody for a while or you've got right place, right time, that timeline is going to be shorter. Absolutely. If they need a laptop, they're going to buy it. Absolutely. But when we're talking about, complex cybersecurity engagements, when we're talking about co-location, about connectivity, about procurement and project services, about building ISO 27001 capabilities for their 2025, all of that takes time. It needs that, it needs a proposal building. It needs a scope building. There's so much that goes into it. So don't rush it. We want to play the long game. And, I liken this so much with so many of my one-on-one coaching clients where we talk about, dating. You go into a bar, you meet somebody. The first question is not, will you marry me? Well, it shouldn't be. Okay. So if you've got it wrong, maybe, you walk into a bar and you meet somebody. The first question is not, will you marry me? Well, it shouldn't be. So if you are, then maybe rethink your dating strategy. But all jokes aside, we need to slow it down. We meet somebody, we get to know them, we buy them a drink, we ask for their phone number, we take them on a date, whatever that needs to look like. It is a multi-step process before we ask them to be our partner, to move in together, to get married, to go on a holiday, to send a holiday card. I've been watching Friends, so that's where that came from. So, don't rush it. Play the long game, be patient, and don't be afraid to kind of suggest options further out. If you said, For example, let's catch up. Should we do kind of, based on what you're looking for, should we do mid-Feb? They will come back to you and say, look, can we do earlier? Because I want to get this in. Or if you've understood that they've got a budget meeting, would you like me to put something in prior to that? Understand them, ask permission, ask questions. We're going back to that qualification piece, but we want to avoid being pushy. Now, next bucket, so we talked about the first bucket being those ones that have said, let's meet, let's catch up in the new year. Can we speak again in January? Go back and look at those first. The next bucket I'm going to be looking at is the ones from earlier in the year. So revisit lost deals that happened in March to June. Okay, so Q1 now is a great time. So if you lost them between March and June, there is a possibility that you're going to be able to be in the running for a renewal if they signed a 12-month contract or if it's something that's annual. Now, you should have been nurturing them. You should have been doing your multi-touch points, adding value, connecting with them, sharing information that may be relevant to them or their industry. If you haven't, that's okay. We can't go back in time, but we know that by doing that, it keeps them warm, it keeps you relevant, it keeps you front of mind. And that is really important when it comes to selling. So do that now if you're not already. For those ones that lost, let's revisit. Okay. When we last spoke, you were doing this and this was on hold. Has anything shifted for that? What's your plan for 2025? I know that you weren't able to move forward. I know you ended up going in a different direction last year. How did you get on? How's that been progressing for you? Now, am I right in thinking that that's going to be a review again, kind of, March, April, May, June, depending on, when that close date was? Understand where they're at. If you can provide more than that one thing that you were discussing, ask a broader question. What else is on your radar for 2025? We've got this happening. We've got a webinar scheduled. We've just run this report from an assessment of 2024, and clients or organizations or people in your industry are loving it for these reasons. Okay, connect it back to them, their industry, what they want, what they need, what they're doing, what they were doing. Connect it back, just the same as you asked me to give you a call in January. Okay, always go back to what did they want, what did they need, what did they ask of you, and then bring that in to your conversation. Okay. Now, if you have no idea, kind of, there isn't a need, there wasn't a close, but there's this other bucket, and this other bucket's going to be quite big, okay? But bear with me. The reason why this is going to be big is because there's opportunities to reconnect. We didn't necessarily lose anything. We haven't maybe got to proposal stage. We've maybe spoken once and they've said not right now, or we're all good, we've got a partner for that. Think about ways that you can add value. Okay, so I mentioned about, white papers, reports, webinars, video recordings, podcasts. Remember, it does not need to all be about your organization. Okay, if you are leading this business, if you've got a marketing team, if you've got a sales team, if you're looking at the strategy and direction, do your sales team a favor and give them something that they can go to market with. Don't give them a capability statement. Yes, you might need that later down the line, but that is not going to get anybody excited. Okay. That is not going to get anybody saying, yes, I can't wait to chat to that person. When you give them something that's going to help them solve a problem, give them an insight, make them sound smart, make them look like a leader, be able to take something into a boardroom and confidently talk about it, you are going to be their friend, their pal, their person they go to when they're like, what's going on with this, in this area? You want to be their advisor. Now, if they've already got somebody, you want to stand out above and beyond them, and you're doing this for free right now. Okay. You're giving them intel. You're giving them updates. Their provider isn't. Their provider isn't reaching out every, 6, 8, 12 weeks, giving them something of value. Think about ways you can do that. When the other person drops the ball, you're in. When they need to get a second quote, you're that. So think about, there's so many different ways to do this, and it doesn't just have to be about an opportunity that's now. I ran a session last year for a large organization. We had about 30 salespeople, working with them for about 3 months. And the focus, the emphasis of our engagement was around nurturing, building conversations. Now, I call this conversation pipeline. And for me, this is just as important as your deal pipeline. Because your deal pipeline is about revenue and opportunities and things that have been secured. Conversations about stuff you don't even know yet. Conversations about adding value. It's about being there. It's about understanding and learning. If you spoke to 20 people that are not quite ready to buy from you yet, but give you information, tell you what they're doing, tell you what's on their radar, you can take that, use it in your next conversation, or think about ways that you can add value. They can give that back to the business. They can help your marketing team create more things. You can look at an outsourced person to help you do that. There is so much that we are able to do, but it requires touch points. It requires relationship building. It requires adding value and sharing your knowledge and your skill set without it being buy from us, do this, get this, try this. It's something more meaningful about their industry and what you know about them. So a little recap, because I want you to be able to dive into this. I'm not making this super long, so there are no excuses, but your meetings matter. Building out your meetings matter, because we know that activities and action help build that momentum, and it helps the ball rolling so that you can get where you need to be. So if you're starting off the year without enough meetings, or you want to get more, or you want to just have a really good cadence, a really good process to kick off the year, then we want to start with a light personal check-in before diving into business. Okay, find out when people are coming back, plan out your year with regards to those chunks of time where you know you often come back and it's like, oh, let's get back going again, but I've got no meetings. Okay, we don't ever want to be in that position. We don't want to start Monday with no meetings for the week. We don't want to start a month with no meetings for the month. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? All right, so reconnect personally, ask open-ended questions. It's a beautiful time of year to understand their priorities for the entire year. Okay, don't be afraid to be broad with this. I always ask about 12, 18 months because decisions get made so far out and we want to be part of it. We want to know what's going on. Play the long game. Don't rush. Focus on value, not closing the deal or getting them into a meeting immediately. Look at those touch points. Okay, leverage new value, add things, updates. What have you seen? What have you heard? What's going on? What would be valuable? Give that to them, offer that to them, see if they want it. And then revisit your lost leads from quarter one. Focus on those that have, that didn't quite go ahead, and then look at the rest of them. Look at who else is relevant. What use cases could you share? How could you reach out in a more meaningful way? Now, you may have seen already, we've got a webinar running, and this is for you if you want to turn more of your cold leads into real opportunities, to have more meaningful conversations, to build more meetings. So if you want to join me live, it's going to be me live, hosted online on Zoom on the 4th of February. We're going to share practical insights, tips, more of what you love about this podcast. I do hope you love it. More in line with how do we generate engagement from your leads of 2024. So for the whole last 12 months, you have got thousands of leads, or your organization's got thousands of leads, or you as a marketing department have got thousands of leads. What do you want your sales team to do with it? We are going to share that with you as well. So link to register is in the show notes. I would love for you to join me and hundreds of others and learn more about how you can do that and get some real tangible takeaways to be able to kick off the year strong. Let me know if this episode resonated with you. Let me know if you have tried anything or giving anything a go. If you want some encouragement, come over and connect with me, Harriet Meller, on LinkedIn. You can follow Your Sales Co. and also find out more tips, more tools, more resources on the YouTube channel on Your Sales Co. Have an incredible week. Have an amazing start to the year. Happy selling.